Sex, Drugs, and Opera is back, people. We're back for the podcast April 20th.
2019.
I always forget the year, but again, I don't think anybody's going to be listening in the future.
I hope you're well, people. Why's your voice so low today, man?
I don't know.
You're taking the bottom end of this. Jeez. You're the bottom today.
I always do from Zauberflöte.
What's the rostrum?
It's not bad for a tenor, dude.
It's not bad, man. It's not bad.
It's a little like...
So Mike and I are switching top and bottom today.
Jared's a top today.
Mike's power bottom. So before we get into it here, let's take care of business, huh? Listen, we got a new Patreon sponsor.
Oh, yeah. Connor Dalton.
Connor, listen, man, thank you so much for your sponsorship. I am so sorry I haven't sent you the password to our secret sponsor section yet. I was on planes the last couple days. I've been flying around a lot. As soon as we finish this podcast, I'm going to drive home and send it to you. But thanks so much, man. We really appreciate it. There's lots of goodies for you waiting in there. We got 2 seasons full of extra content there now. So you're going to be busy for hours.
Nice.
Toying around in there.
You know, Jared's life is just a more extreme version of everybody else's life. If Jared takes a flight, most people will have like 2 connections, maybe if it's bad. Jared just on his flight back from America, he had 5 different planes with 2 layovers longer than 8 hours.
Yeah, it was fucked up. I flew Fresno to San Francisco to Dallas to Boston to Iceland to Frankfurt.
That is fucking
And there's bad weather in the
crazy.
States right now. So I had 9 hours in Boston. I had like 4 in Dallas. I had 2 in San Francisco. I think it was like 42 hours of traveling.
That's
Just didn't sleep. Didn't sleep for a moment.
and that just seems like a normal thing for you.
Yeah, fuck it, you know?
It seems like
Why do I deserve better?
if I love it.
You know?
I love it.
Okay, I hope we're not peaking today.
Oh man, people, some serious shit went down recently. If you care about culture, some serious shit went down recently, and that's Notre Dame. The roof burned down. Thank God. The rose windows are okay. I heard conflicting reports. I heard one had some pretty severe damage, but
Right.
2 of them are basically intact, which is amazing.
There's definitely one rose window that's safe. Of course, the spire went down with pretty much any wood structure. You know, when it was burning, they were very worried that if the bell came down, because I think the bell is somehow supported by wood. If that had come down, then it would take the tower down.
You mean the facade, the front?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been
Had the bell
fucking-
come down, it would have been down. But there were a lot of things that survived. There's a great organ there. It's like one of the oldest instruments. It's famous. That survived. There was the true a fragment of the true cross, one of the holy nails,
Right,
And like
right,
that
right.
What's that called? The crown of
it
thorns.
seems like every
some of
fucking
these
church,
relics. You know,
it seems like every church in Europe has a fragment of the cross.
Yeah, it's like-
and
it's
I'm
like-
thinking
it's like-
somebody's walking around with some non-cross fragments.
it's like having a piece of the Berlin Wall. You know,
right.
It's like, how do you
every
know?
rock is a piece of the Berlin Wall.
No, but look, I mean, it was a weird thing. They're gonna rebuild it. They say 5 years. Lots of people are putting money forward. There's lots of fundraising campaigns. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say my experience with it was I was on the plane when that whole thing started. I was on one of these planes I was taking, and I was towards the back of the plane. And every person on that plane was watching it, like the whole plane ride. You know, Americans have a stereotype for not giving a shit about the rest of the world.
And that's bullshit.
But everyone from Dallas to Boston on that flight was watching that thing for like the entire flight, you know, or at least checking back in.
You
on
know,
it.
I heard, this is what I was going to say earlier. I debated since starting it whether I should say it or not, but fuck it. I'm going to say it. It made me angry. Somebody, I saw somebody doing a rant, and this is the most, it was one of the most fucking, like, virtue signaling rants I've ever fucking heard in my life. Right after this happened, there was a billionaire who said, "We're giving $100 million.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Okay.
Right? And he's like, yeah, well, if you look at it, if he's a billionaire, a multi-billionaire, and he's only giving $100 million, that's a nice gesture, but it's really not more than this percentage if I were to give this. I'm like, fuck you, dude.
That is fucked up.
Come on. Would you rather? Okay, good. Then just keep the $100 million.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Well, that's a fucked up angle. There are some other angles that are worth having a discussion about. You know, like I do have to say,
Go ahead, say it.
Well, some people are upset because, of course, it seems like every time there's a terrorist attack or something in France that it gets a lot more media attention, world attention than like some of the shit going on in like Syria and stuff right now.
Yeah,
and true. So it's like when people say like, why did they not give some of that money to that instead of rebuilding the church? That's more of a conversation I'm willing to have. But when you start shitting on somebody for the amount that they're giving, you could give more. That's more of a fucked. I think we can all agree that's a kind of a fucked up conversation to have. If you're gonna give something, but you can't shit on somebody for not giving like a higher percentage.
Right,
you know?
and it's, by the way, it's freiwillig. It's voluntary, dude.
Yeah.
It's voluntary. You know what you say to someone who gives you anything voluntarily?
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you with a voiced T.
And I wasn't going to say anything, dude, but somebody wrote in and
said we got a gypsy tip coming up today.
Anyway, but what I was going to say is there is, I think there's a conversation to be had there, but there is something special about the collective cultural history of the world.
Yeah.
And whether it goes down by an accident or by, in Afghanistan, whenever the Taliban was destroying the Buddhist statues, right? Yeah. I don't know if you know about that, but there were these huge Buddhist statues. And or in Iraq, whenever ISIS took over certain parts of Iraq, and they would destroy museums, things that are 6,000 years old, and they would just destroy them because they're idols. My heart sank and my blood boiled because I'm not from those areas, but I'm still human like they are. Those were creations of just mere mortals. The same thing that Notre Dame was. And there is something powerful about losing something of the past. Yeah. I mean, I've heard more convincing arguments for you don't rebuild the original. Yeah. You don't rebuild it because there is no replacing an original. You know? Yeah. I'm not sure if I agree with that. I'd like to see that thing rebuilt because there's so much of the structure still standing. Most of the inside stone ceiling is still intact, right? Which is great. I was afraid that fell down. That would have been more of a terrible tragedy.
Yeah. No, I mean, whenever a country is kind of has its cultural identity taken, that's just a natural part of war. You go into a country like, World War II, so much of Germany. I was singing out in Braunschweig years ago, and that used to be the biggest medieval city in all of Europe, I think, or one of the biggest. And now, after this huge firestorm and stuff that happened during the war, there's like a block of buildings that exist from that.
That are original.
Yeah, and it's amazing to look at. And if you imagine the whole city looked like that, it would be an incredible thing. And as Americans, sometimes we have a hard time understanding that because our culture doesn't go so far back, unless you're of course Native American. That's a different aspect of it. But for a lot of Americans, our music is European, our architecture and stuff. It was European immigrants that came over and did this stuff. So sometimes we have a hard time understanding these older countries like Germany or France or like these Middle Eastern countries where it's like countries where their traditions go back thousands of years. Yeah, right. What they do with their family at dinner, they've been doing for 1,000 years. And to see that taken from somebody and erased, history is a big part of human life anyway. We have to learn from history so it doesn't repeat ourselves. And when we erase that stuff,
Absolutely. You're right about the perspective that Americans have, especially because when I was living in the Netherlands, I was living in an area that was pretty untouched by the war. Maastricht, it wasn't really destroyed.
It's in the south.
It's in the south, right near the border of Belgium and Germany, right there. And to walk around and see a building, just a normal house, with the building date on it of 1610 or something, is not an unusual sight at all. And Americans freak out whenever they're like, "Oh my Maastricht, gosh, this goes."
I think I know the building you're talking about. It's older than that. It's like the year like 1150 or something.
Oh yeah. Oh, it goes way back. Not only that, but there are also Roman ruins there, right?
Yeah, sure,
Romans there.
Ruined Roman.
And I guess I'm a little not numb to it now, but when you get used to knowing that this history is much, much longer than the American history
it's the prequel to our history, It's the Hobbit to our Lord of the Rings.
There you go. Wow. Yeah. Right. Exactly. And Rome is the what's it called?
Are you about to nerd the fuck out? The Cerulean or whatever?
The Cimmerillion. Cimmerillion.
You took it there, man.
Well, dude, I've been nerding out.
I gave you some nerd bait and you fucking took it.
Fucking day. I'll tell you why I've been nerding out because. So another reason why we're covering Notre Dame today is because if you're a musician, and you care about the history of music, Notre Dame, that cathedral, is an insanely important place. Yeah, it's a very important place in the history of music.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about the Notre Dame polyphony, which kind of gave, we'll talk about it later, but it kind of gave, it's the origins to what we know as music now, a lot of that stuff. And we're also going to be jamming a bit on the old Hunchback in Notre Dame there.
Ooh, baby.
But I also grabbed us a couple beers if you want to scoot on over there and get them, Mike. They're in the door.
Preference of the first one?
No, I got no idea.
Great.
While Mike's doing that, I'm a bit jet lagged here, so I'm going to be a bit low energy today. And I think Mike's sick or something. So
I'm not sick.
Pop it up. French beer is not so easy to find in this area, so I found.
Not necessarily known for their beer.
No, I mean, I thought about doing 2 bottles of red wine, but I thought it might get too wild. So Mike and I are doing French beer today. I grabbed 2 French beers in honor of the old Notre Dame thing. Man, you're making a fucking mess over there. So what do we got here?
You read it.
I don't know, man. My French isn't so good.
I can do it.
La Goudale? Is that how you'd say that?
Goudale, yeah. La Goudale.
La Goudale. This is a beer. This is a blonde beer.
Blonde beer, American.
Yeah, that's about all the French I can read.
Nate, no, I'm sorry, not American, ancienne.
Yeah. Okay. We have a French beer here. There's water and barley and wheat. Those are the French words I know.
Don't pretend like you. This is good. This is one of those with hops.
Oh, this has the sugar in it. Some orange peel, maybe.
And
yeah, crack me open there. I like the bottle though. It looks like a wine bottle. It doesn't look like a normal beer
French
bottle.
do everything a little fancier than everybody else.
Yeah, that's true.
Just a little bit fancier.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay.
Now it tastes like it's like the French said, we don't know how to make beer, so let's go to Belgium. They speak French and they'll teach us. That's what
good.
it tastes like.
I'll drink that, man. That's good. That's hearty. 7.2%. Better watch out. So most of you fucks out there, you probably know Notre Dame from the Hunchback in Notre Dame, eh?
Yeah,
I guess. But that's funny because I like looking at that book because that's an example of how translating a title kind of changes things. Because the original title, I believe, is like Notre Dame de Paris, which is like the Our Woman of Paris, right?
Wait, no, that's the title.
That's Victor Hugo. The book is called Notre Dame de Paris. It's not called whatever the Hunchback in French would be. No, he called it Our Lady of Paris, which then, of course, was a double entendre because it meant the cathedral, but then it also meant Esmeralda.
Oh.
Right? And so his story is much more centered around her as like a heroine, you know? But in the Hunchback of Notre Dame, especially like the Disney version, which people know, then it becomes a story about Quasimodo because you put it in the title.
Right.
So you're taking the title away from her and then making it about Quasimodo.
Right.
So translating, it's a big thing, man. Were you forced to read that book in school back in the day?
No, actually, I have to claim not blissful ignorance. It's terrible, crippling ignorance of. I've never read any version of the Hunchback, so it's a bit of a bummer. But everybody has holes in their literature. Yeah. Everybody does. So don't. Fuck with me,
it's a big book, and I think it's actually like 3 volumes.
Yeah,
like it's an enormous read.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I got to tell you.
What?
So. I just had on a whim played it again. It's one of Jack's favorite songs, and I've got to say that remix.
What the hell are you talking about?
You don't know that?
What are you talking about? I played
Ain't
that.
Nobody
song.
time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
How the fuck was I supposed to know that's what you're talking about?
Because if anybody says ain't nobody got time for that, I'm going. We were talking. Ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that.
But I assumed you were talking about the like the Disney Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Well, okay,
because there's some good fucking. There's some bangers in there. Absolute bangers in there.
You mean the Disney one?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but
the bells, whatever the fuck he's saying.
That's why you were saying that earlier. When you were just walking around saying the bells, I thought you were talking about the bells, Edgar Allan Poe.
Bells. No, man, I had that stuck in my head. Yeah, man. I mean, this Hunchback of Notre Dame shit. It's funny. That's also one of those things where it's like when they took La Boheme and they made it Rent. It's like pretty recognizable that it's the same story, but they like combined characters into one and all that shit. And they really changed it a lot. Victor Hugo's Hunchback of Notre Dame is not a fucking happy thing.
Right.
Not at all. And the Disney one, man, the Disney one made it happy as shit. You know what I mean? But one reason why I think the Hunchback of Notre Dame is relevant to talk about now is because Victor Hugo, one of his motivations for writing that story was because he wanted to preserve Gothic architecture. Mm-hmm. Because at that time, they were really tearing down. This was like the mid 1830s or whatever that he wrote this. They were tearing down a lot of.
So not terribly long after the Revolution.
No, and they were tearing down a lot of these Gothic structures in France and replacing them with more practical things. So like the rose windows in the Notre Dame were taken out for white windows because it let more light in. This type of stuff.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and so when he wrote this book,
I didn't know that.
If you read The Hunchback of Notre Dame, you'll notice that it's way more descriptive than it needs to be.
Right.
It's like the Bible with like what are all these names doing here? You know what I mean? It's like it's so much description, and it's because to him it was important to preserve that. That was his motivation for doing it. I mean, he had written some sort of article a few years earlier that was called "The War to the Demolishers" or something like that, and basically he was very much for saving this architecture, and so he wrote this whole book around Notre Dame to then, of course, like protect it and save it, and that's super relevant now when you think about the fire and what happened. That's the conversation people are having. What is that?
Okay, check again. I just wanted to make sure we're not losing shit.
It's fine.
This one's going to be one of my favorite podcasts, I think, so I don't want to lose this one to some fucking glitch.
Well, then make sure you stop the flow as much as possible.
Well, what am I supposed to do, dude? Just risk it?
I don't know, man. I'm checking it. I got it. You don't got to worry.
I kind of have to worry.
But most of you fucks out there, you probably know the Disney version, which of course ends happy, right? Have you seen that?
Yeah, of course.
Quasimodo, it ends with him and Esmeralda, and like they're all happy and shit. And in the original one, it's not that way.
Right.
Spoiler alert, right? Cover your ears. But in Victor Hugo's, it ends with like she's hanged. Like Quasimodo kills, what's his name, Frollo, right? I almost say Frodo every fucking time.
Yeah, well, it's way close.
He fucking pushes him off, and then he's like down there dead lays everything that I fucking love. You know, they can't find Quasimodo. They open up her tomb a few years later. His like skeleton's like next to hers. Like he,
what? Really?
Yeah, he like snuck into her tomb and starved. They try to remove his skeleton. It like turns to dust.
Awesome.
I mean, it's fucking brutal. And also, like in the Disney one, they cleaned up all the characters. Like Quasimodo, of course, tries like in the Disney one, he's like at the Feast of Fools, and they basically like start like I don't know, not beating him, but like making
fun of him and throwing food at him.
Throwing food and shit for no fucking reason.
Right.
But of course, in the book, he tried to kidnap Esmeralda because Frollo told him to, and then he gets like the fucking shit kicked out of him as a result of it.
Yeah.
Also in the book, Frollo's the one that stabs this captain, whatever the fuck his name is.
Captain.
The blonde
Captain.
fuck. Yeah, Captain Phoebus or whatever I think it is.
Phoebus, yeah, that's right.
So Frollo fucking stabs him, you know what I mean? And but in the movie, in the Disney movie, it's like Frollo tells him to burn down a house, he won't do it, and so like archers shoot him in the back.
You know, I kind of understand. If I came across somebody named Phoebus, I would have a pretty strong impulse to stab him.
Phoebus,
I think.
yeah.
Phoebus is a stabbable name. It's a stabby kind of name.
Phoebus fan base, you're out.
You're gone. It's the second one I alienated.
Get off
I
the
think
fucking air.
Flat Earthers I alienated, and Phoebus.
Yeah, that's enough for now.
Everybody named Phoebus listening
out.
to this is like, well, fuck you, Mike.
Get the fuck out, Phoebus.
Fuck you then.
But you know, the Disney Hunchback of Notre Dame, I think a lot of people don't realize they pulled that from an opera that was written about this with the libretto that was actually written by Victor Hugo.
No.
Yes.
Who's the composer? What? You got gems today, baby.
I'm dropping gems, man.
Fucking
you didn't know
rubies all over the place.
You didn't know you were going to get blown today.
I did not.
It's a French woman, Louisa Bertin, I believe.
A woman?
A woman wrote, it's called La Esmeralda.
No shit.
French opera. A woman wrote it. Victor Hugo wrote the libretto, and he adapted the libretto from his book. So
See,
he didn't just take the same book.
Does
He
it
actually
still
adapted
exist?
it for an opera.
Do we still have the
Yeah, I
music
believe
to
so.
it? Why?
Yeah.
No, see, there's too
It's like
much.
a huge 4-act grand opera.
Yeah,
you know?
there's too much. There's too. I love Bohème, but there are too many of them. I love Carmen, but there are too many of them. Every once in a while, somebody could pick up. You want to do something for females in music? Do one of these fucking operas. Put it on.
Yeah. Well, now's the right time.
Incredible.
Yeah, but Disney, they pulled a lot of their plot from that opera, which he also cleaned up a bit more than the book, because the book's pretty brutal, and the book, though vastly interesting, is really complex.
Right.
And like the book, like there's this Gringor, I think his name is. He's this person that's trying to get his play heard in the book, and a lot of the plot revolves around him. And in the Disney one, they of course took his character, this other character, and they pushed them together to make this like gesture you see. Yeah. And that's often what they do when they do a readaptation or whatever. They often take 3 characters and they push it together. They did it in Rent too. They took like Chonard and I think Colina is in there. Chonard and some other character they just pushed together.
Marcello, are they the same?
Yeah, I think Marcello and and then they made.
We're gonna get angry emails about this.
No, I think it's Musetta and Chonard they pushed into one character.
Really?
Yeah, or Marcello, because then it's like
so he's having sex with himself then. Oh wait, no, that's Marcello. That's Marcello and Musetta.
I don't
Marcello and
know.
Musetta.
But like,
what is it? It's just somebody who loves to masturbate.
It's so much.
You got to turn down something because my headphones are peaking.
Okay.
Like my headphones.
Don't you have volume on
off.
your headphones? Can't you shut those off?
I guess I could. Let me see here. Oh, motherfucker! Look at you.
I think maybe your volume's just up too high on your headphones.
Well, now I can barely hear shit.
See, well, this is what's been sounding like for me over here. Yeah, man. I don't know. It's a cool book. It's a cool fucking book. Y'all should check it out and check out the Disney movie. But the Disney movie is...
Or at least check out the cliff notes.
Yeah, but the Disney movie is so fucking different. It's almost not even the same story.
Right.
His book's fucking tragic as shit, but it's one of those classic... And someone should remake that opera. I don't know if this opera's like not good, why it's not done more. Maybe it's too complicated.
I was just having the conversation
But
today.
it should be on stage, man. It seems like it'd be good.
I was just having the conversation today about composers who aren't really done. In Darmstadt, where we are right now, there was, I think I mentioned it once, there was a famous composer named Graupner, Christoph Graupner, and it was Bach's. So when Bach went for the job in Leipzig, the first person they went for was Telemann, which I don't know why, but I've been listening to his music like fucking crazy recently.
Okay.
Awesome shit. He did... I think it's an opera that he composed of Don Quixote, and they took the music from it and made a suite, right? Like a Telemann suite, orchestra suite. And that's what's more commonly performed, but the opera's not fucking performed. And this Graupner, so the first choice for the Leipzig Thomaskirche was Telemann. The second choice was Graupner from Darmstadt. They didn't let him out of the contract, so he couldn't go, right? And then it was fucking Bach was up.
Right. Bach was up. Old third pick Bach.
Third fucking sloppy thirds, baby.
He was sitting on the bench with his fucking tights up there, fucking ready to jump in,
Yeah.
We got to go through our symbols. I forgot what our symbols mean.
So this is turn it down because
which
I don't know. I did this for check.
Yeah, so you can't do this.
Yeah, but I'm trying to go counterclockwise for turn it the fuck down because my ears are bleeding. Should I go like this, like show that my ears are?
I don't know, man.
Bleeding?
We gotta figure it out. I think your headphones are loud. Okay, look, Mike and I did a Hollywood casting. We casted the Disney movie though.
Oh yeah, are you jumping into the casting?
Oh, I don't know. Do you got more to say about the book? You gotta say.
I don't have anything to say about the book. I know there's a book.
There's a book
that Victor Hugo
and
wrote
it's super interesting because it's applicable to now because, of course, his goal was then, to preserve this architecture. And this is kind of the conversation about, like, do you just demolish it and build something new, or do you rebuild and preserve that aspect of our history,
Well, I mean, I don't know if you're asking me right now, but I'm going to tell you, right?
Okay.
There's no way it should be demolished. Most of the structure is still... Actually, like, the tragedy could have been a lot fucking worse. Had the facade fallen down... That would have been, like, fucking terrible. Yeah. That would have been just terrible. But it didn't. So now we're talking about rebuilding a wooden roof, And actually, most of the roof wasn't original.
Yeah.
It's wood. You have to replace that shit. Wood deteriorates after a long time, so you got to fucking replace it. So it was maybe time for that. Oh, also, I meant to mention it earlier. At the base of the spire that fell down, there were a bunch of famous gargoyles, and... That was about to be renovated, so they had removed those gargoyles 4 days before it burned down.
Oh, wow, that's lucky.
Yeah, lucky shit.
Did you hear about the New York Times posting a picture of the Cologne Cathedral and calling it the Notre Dame?
No. The New York Times?
Yeah.
Shame on how? How at the New York Times do you have such bad research?
It's so fucking embarrassing. When you people do that shit, it makes it hard for Mike and I fucking living out here, okay? Like, yeah, the New York Times posted a picture. Because the Cologne, if you've never been to Cologne, it also has a beautiful cathedral.
Oh, it's amazing.
Cologne. Check it out. If you're ever anywhere near Cologne, it's worth seeing. It also has all the scaffolding around it. They're also renovating it.
It's been under construction since like 10. I mean, like year 10.
Year 10. Since they built it, the next year they started reconstructing it.
They're like, all right, Jesus just died. What should we do? You might as well go to Cologne and fucking build that shit.
With a toothbrush. One guy with a toothbrush. Renovating that whole thing. No, it has 2 towers, and I guess you could say it looks somewhat similar.
No, no.
But, I mean, come
Jein,
on.
as they say in German. Ja und nein. Jein.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I would never look at. I would confuse the one in Cologne with the one in Mailand. What do you say?
In Milano.
In Milan, right?
Whatever you say in English.
Right. I would confuse those two more readily, right? But even still, I wouldn't fucking confuse it. It takes a supremely ignorant person.
Yeah.
In that sort of, and you'd think that they would have somebody. All it takes is fucking. I need a picture of Notre Dame, right?
Well, we have Google these days. Like, it's not like you went to the library and photocopied a book. You know what I mean?
Which is crazy because if he types it in and looks at images, that has to be an outlier.
You know what's crazy?
One of these things is not like the other. And he just didn't go through the rest of that song, I guess, in his head.
When I post something on our...
I cannot believe that. That's terrible.
I know. When I post something on Instagram, right? Or like Facebook, whatever, I will check the word 400 times, you know? Like a word I've spelt my whole life. I'll be like, is this how difference really spelled? And I swear to God, I will go to like dictionary.com, different. I'll be like, D-I-F, F, and I'll go back and forth, and I'll make sure it's correct, you know? This guy could have fucking done that shit with the New York Times, huh? You ready to cast this thing up?
Yeah, I'm ready to cast
I'm going to crush your nuts. So Mike and I we casted the Disney movie because I think most of you are familiar with that, and there's less characters.
Is casted the past tense, or is it cast?
I'm not sure what the past tense of cast is.
I think cast. I think it might cast. I don't know.
Hold on. We got to settle this first.
Cast it?
Germans are fucking up my English. Past tense of cast.
Here we go. It might, but watch out. It might mean like you cast a net.
Yeah, that's always the difference, right? Like did you cast a fishing net or did you cast a spell?
Or did you cast an opera? Those are 3 different uses of the word cast. Wow. Look at that.
Cast can be a noun or a verb. As a noun, cast as an object, as a verb. I hate these people. They have to write a whole goddamn fucking article. You know what I mean? Did you know that the word cast a past participle cast can function as an adjective? All right, fuck this. I've lost interest.
Yep, me too.
Casted is an incorrect and a past tense conjugation of cast, okay?
It's what?
It's incorrect, I think.
It is?
Yeah, but it's like a sociological thing. Like it changes over time.
I'm starting to feel bad for calling you out on all this shit. I'm starting to feel pretty bad, dude.
My skin's thick as hell, okay?
I know, but still.
Try it. Try to hurt me. You can't do it.
That is the best way to be.
You want to go first or second? You want to go back and forth? How do you want to do this?
Let's go back and forth. We've never done that before.
Yeah, let's go back and forth. Then let's start with the
3?
The gargoyles.
The 3 gargoyles.
So this is again, we are casting the Hunchback of Notre Dame with the characters from the Disney movie, which is because the book, you fuckers don't know the book. Just be honest to yourself.
You pretend like you do.
You pretend like you do.
Just like you all pretend that you read Game of Thrones.
You didn't fucking read it. You footnote motherfuckers. All right. Sorry, I've been on planes for 2 days. I'm pissed. Go, gargoyles.
Should I give all 3?
Just go all 3.
I've got Rainn Wilson. That's Dwight from Dwight Schrute.
Okay.
Ricky Gervais.
Yeah.
And Kristen Wiig. Okay. I went man, woman like they did in the Disney.
Yeah.
Those are 3 funny fucking people.
That's funny, but you didn't keep the like the little one, tall one, old one.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to.
No, I kept it.
I don't have to fucking do that. I can do whatever I want.
This beer's pretty good, right?
It's not bad.
But it's hitting hard, dude.
I've got to teach a lesson right after this.
Well, you're going to have them fucking hook
I'm just going to be like, no, you need more. You need more.
You don't got it. Your tongue's not in your throat enough.
That's what you need when you sing. This is an Anfänger too.
Yeah.
She's a beginner.
Yeah.
Like she's learning that you shouldn't just like vibrate violently when you sing. Like you should.
The vibrato doesn't come from your arms. All right, my gargoyles are Kevin Hart, The Rock, and Betty White.
Okay, you win.
Yeah, good.
Okay, you win. You win those.
Okay.
Betty White is fucking perfect.
Good. Her with Kevin Hart and The Rock.
And Kevin Hart and The Rock already have this chemistry
from,
going on back and forth.
Jumanji, whatever.
No, but do you ever see how they tweet back and forth?
Yeah, but that's from
shit?
Jumanji. They did Jumanji together.
Well, okay. Well, fuck
have you seen
me.
Jumanji?
No.
It's good, dude. It's good.
I don't know.
Jack Black in there too.
I know, but I was a little. I'm a little like, why are you doing that?
You're a little purist with that shit.
Yeah, Jumanji was really good.
Yeah, but it's worth seeing. You should see it. Okay.
I'm not
All
gonna see
right.
it.
What do you want to do next?
Let's go to Storyteller.
Okay. You want to go first?
I went first last time.
I did Robert Downey Jr.
Good. I got Kevin Kline.
Uh-huh.
You remember Kevin Kline?
Yeah.
People, I don't know if you know, but when he did a famous production, they did like a modern version of Pirates of Penzance in New York, like Central Park.
Okay.
And it was a modernized one, and he was fucking fantastic.
Oh, really? I gotta check that out.
And I'm casting them from that.
Right.
The more the cultured members of our audience will know of this reference.
Stop squinting at me, man. All right, do the next one. Do Captain Phoebus. Do Phoebus.
I got Phoebe.
Yeah.
I got Phoebe as Mr. Jamie Lannister, Nikolai
No
Coster-Waldau.
fucking way. I did the same thing.
Yeah, all right. Tie ball game.
We both watched the Game of
game.
Thrones the last day. That's why.
We should do a podcast on that. I know he was in my head, but he's right for it.
Yeah, he is.
He's right for it.
Agreed.
And he's
Agreed.
a really good actor. Okay, you're up with
Frodo Baggins.
Judge Frodo.
I think I nailed it. Willem Dafoe.
It's funny. He was in there with. So I almost went Jeremy Irons, right? Little on the nose.
Okay.
As I think Willem Dafoe is.
Oh, fuck you.
Little on the nose.
Coming from the guy who did James Earl Jones as fucking Zarastro.
Okay. Okay. I'm able to admit when I'm wrong.
All right.
Although he would be a good. Willem Dafoe is, of course, he's incredible, by the way. He's like one of my favorite
great
actors.
in anything. Yeah, he has such a unique look. Well, who do you have for Frodo?
I have John Lithgow.
Okay.
John Lithgow. I think you're going to win this one. Although I like John Lithgow as Frodo Baggins.
Yeah. Okay, Esmeralda, you go. If you say Mila Kunis, you son of a bitch.
No, of course not. That's a little on the nose.
You can't use her anymore. Yeah, you're being all fucking logical this time, but usually you're Nose McCallahan. you're like.
I've got Demi Moore in her prime.
Okay, can't argue it. That's a good one. I did Jessica Alba.
Yep.
All right, moving on to Quasi.
So you're up.
All right, I did. I don't know if you know him, Paul Dano. I'm gonna find you a picture. He was in 12 Years a Slave. That's what I was thinking of. But he's an underrated actor. He's good. He was also in like this other fucking movie with a yellow box. Little Miss Sunshine. I think.
Little Miss Sunshine. Okay.
All right. I can't pull up a big picture because the internet is the biggest problem with this studio.
Well, not for me. There's something wrong with your fucking internet.
Right,
I have
this
internet.
Guy, you know who that guy is?
Oh, he was in No Country for Old Men. No.
I don't know. He's good.
There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
There Will Be Blood. He was like the young preacher in it.
He's good.
Yeah, and he was also in that movie with...
Paul Dano. I think he could do some
Wait a minute. Who's Wolverine? Who's Wolverine again? Hugh Jackman?
Yeah.
Like, Hugh Jackman's kids are abducted.
I don't know that at all.
I can't remember what it's called. And he is... he has some learning disability, this actor that you're talking about.
Okay.
And he was involved in the kidnapping, but he's like he's not really entirely there, right?
Okay, I see.
And oh my God, it's so good.
Sounds like good shit.
I've got a very unique one. I think it's a classical choice.
Okay.
I got Mr. John Malkovich. Like he's going to get up to the top and hold Esmeralda up and say, "Sanctuary." Sanctuary. I can't do a John Malkovich very much,
No,
but
John Malkovich's good.
You will give me Sanctuary.
I could see it. Yeah, he's old. Quasimodo in the book. Quasimodo in the book was 20. Esmeralda was 17.
Brilliant. Yeah, but he's timeless.
Yeah, fuck
He's
you.
timeless.
You always got to retort, don't you?
He's timeless.
We're just the tip of it right now. Hold on.
What? Okay.
What you want more?
No.
What do you want to say, Mike?
I just want to say,
all right, fuck you.
I think I can do a good fucking job as Quasimodo.
You get into the Malkovich really well, and then it fades.
I know. Well, you know, I'm not.
These shirts, dude. All right.
I put on some Papa Pounds here. It tickles.
Just the tip, love.
Oh, God. You guys never had so much music in your goddamn life.
We've got so many theme songs today. Half the podcast today is theme songs. I like this one. I like this.
Yeah, we're bing bang banging it. Oh, God.
Did you checky McChecker?
Let me check.
Oh, we're still going good.
God, I just saw some shit on Instagram. All right.
What'd you see?
I can't. I'll tell you later.
Share it to the world.
Okay, hey guys. I'm a bass baritone. Live in Colorado. I'm writing to thank you both for this podcast. I binged Sex, Drugs, and Opera in March while I was doing a production of Bluebeard in one city and singing another role.
Great opera.
In a different city. During this time, I was driving 700 to 900 miles a week.
Fuck you,
Jesus,
dude.
dude.
That is Jared Ice levels of travel.
If you're also sleeping in your car, then then you're playing my game. The podcast was my saving grace. I love hearing the transformation SDAO has gone through. Thanks for helping us name. It's really nice to hear this shit.
Yeah.
Because this is a lot of fucking work, what Mike and I do. And when people appreciate, that's good. But also, the fact that you guys know that we're developing it and improving on it, it's cool.
It's something that I'm not sure I entirely have a grasp on, is the transformation. I go and I do these... we do these podcasts, and because you have to concentrate on other shit, you don't necessarily I don't have right now the time to fucking... To
take it all in,
and go back and listen.
Yeah,
I wish I did, because then if I did, I would, like he said, I would hear a progression. Yeah. I'm sure, but that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, it's like our wedding night up here, Mike and I. We don't have time to enjoy it ourselves, you know.
I don't get it.
On your wedding, you're so busy with everybody else that you don't have time yourself.
You said wedding night. Wedding night literally means that you're in the bedroom fucking.
We had a conversation before the podcast started, and
I'm starting to wonder whether you're starting to have some sexual fantasies about me.
Dude, I was in so many time zones lately, and like we got this wall up now, and we're boxed in here. You know, I don't know. It's cozy
now. A little
now.
cozy and intimate.
Okay. So he asked.
Not that there's anything wrong with
okay.
Fucking Seinfeld people.
Stop throwing shit. He asked us a question too. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I thought he was done.
No, that's just the intro. I do have
What's
a question.
What's his name again?
Well, I don't say people's names unless they say, "Please say my name." You know, I'm not going to say
my name. Say my name.
Shut the fuck up. I do have a question for you two. What are your all-time favorite roles to sing in your Fach, and your favorite role that isn't in your Fach? That's it. Mike, what's your favorite role in your Fach? I know what it is.
Mime, of course.
Obvious. You guess mine?
Scarpia.
Nah, I think it's the Dutchman.
Yeah?
I would love to do that shit.
Yeah? That's cool.
You know, fucking Dutch it up. Give her the Dutch oven. It's the French beard. It's not me.
What if you did an entire production of Dutchman that is under just a big fucking blanket? That you give the impression you have just a huge...
Yeah.
And then this big fucking blanket comes down.
Yeah, it's like the sails of his ship or something.
It's the sails of his ship.
Fuck you. All right. So for me, I would say the Flying Dutchman's my fucking dream. Fuck you, man.
No, seriously. Well, listen, we're in Germany. That shit happens.
Oh, I'm sure someone's done it.
You're talking about this as being like some kind of crazy thing. I've seen crazier.
Oh, that's tame. That's mild.
Tame.
So
a big farty blanket. That's fine.
If I could do the Dutchman my whole life, I'd be happy. And I think if Mike could do Mima, he'd be fine. Right?
I'd be.
Of course, the Scarpia is great. The Iago, like I would love that shit. But man, Dutchman, come on. That aria alone, fucking fantastic. And Mima is great for you. What about a role that's not in your Fach?
Well, you said one of them, Iago, I think, is one that I
role.
would like to do. Iago is one of the best bad guys.
Yeah.
I think there's one in Wagner that rivals him, Hagen. He's really fucking...
Yeah.
He's a bad motherfucker. Iago's awesome.
Iago, you get some of it all, you know? You get to sing a party piece, right? You get to sing that fucking credo. You get soft stuff, evil stuff, big stuff. It's a cool piece. It's a complicated character, and that's
complicated character.
That's more fun. The complicated ones.
I might have to say that.
Yeah.
But you know, if we're gonna go really outside of your Fach, I think if I could, play Mephisto in the play, in Goethe's play.
Oh, you're going way out. Okay.
I know. I really have a strong desire to be to do straight acting.
Yeah.
Especially recently. I don't know why, but we're doing Ariadne auf Naxos right now.
Yeah.
And it's paired with, I don't know what the title is in English of Molière's play Bürger als Edelmann. Yeah. I can't remember what the name of it is. but it's actually one that Molière wrote with Lully.
Yeah.
And what was I going to say? Watching the actors do their craft really gets my blood pumping. So I would love to be able to try something like that someday.
Okay, cool. I would have to say Canio and Pagliacci would be mine.
Really?
Yeah, I love that character, dude.
Yeah, he's great.
I think it's cool. I think it's complicated. I also love that music and that opera. Or, of course, like, I don't know. If I want to go way outside of myself, of course, like Queen of Night would be shit,
The shit, you mean, or
The
shit?
shit would be the shit. The Queen of the Night would be cool. Santuzza, whatever, in Cavaliere Rusticana, that's a badass role.
I can't take that opera. I've never gotten through it
really?
in one sitting because it gets too goddamn.
It gets slow in the middle.
It's so religious and and so pray and pious.
It's hard to relate to, but also that's one of those operas where it's like I feel like they wrote the ending in the beginning and then they're like, just fill it in the middle.
We need something.
There's a lot of operas like that.
Send them to church.
Like Bohem's a little bit like that. It's like
church.
I got Act 4 and I got Act 1 and 2, so we just gotta get there with Act 3.
Act 3 is kind of
Bridget.
Do you know the story about the music in Act 3
A Bohème?
of Bohème?
Yeah.
Comes from a song
Okay.
that Puccini wrote.
No, I don't know that.
So there was this musical magazine, and the name of the magazine was Paganini, right?
Okay.
And there's actually a recording of Domingo singing these songs, singing this song. I can't remember what it's called. Fuck, I can't remember. But it's the exact same melody.
Damn.
And at the end,
Thieving bastard.
and no, he's not thieving. He did it himself.
Oh, it's his song.
It's his song.
Oh, I missed that.
What he
Okay.
did was he wrote it in composers would write these things and they would be published in the magazine.
Oh, okay.
And at the end, he signs it musically. So he says, if I'm getting the notes wrong, there's definitely people that are. I haven't sung it for a long time, but at the end he says, Paganini di Puccini.
Okay. So he was doing that Count Basie shit.
Yeah,
Right?
basically.
Scoop, scop, right?
It's really cool.
Okay.
Why do we get fucking talking about?
You did it, man.
No, I
You
didn't.
okay, all right. I guess so. So Mike's singing that. I'm singing that. All right. Thank you for your question. Thank you for listening.
Do we have another one, or
we
is
love
that
you.
it?
It's millions, but I'm going to drop a couple more because we can't let it build up.
How much time do we have? Because I got some time to. We've got another
we
segment
can
coming
jam.
up.
Yeah, I know. So let this one shut the fuck up. All right. Okay, opera themed cocktail. We've been getting a lot of cocktails. We got to start making these. Okay,
That's true.
This one's called the slutty opera fan. All right.
Wow.
Or the slutty opera groupie.
Those exist, and
Yes, they do.
They exist, and they're not talked about. Everybody thinks of the white hair opera goers,
Right.
and
Yes.
nobody talks about the slutty opera fan.
Okay, we'll do an episode about it. Okay. Mike has been the slutty opera groupie.
Absolutely.
Okay, 2 parts prosecco, 1 part sake, 1 part sweetened cranberry juice. Throw in some glitter to bring it to a unicorn level.
Are you allowed to drink glitter?
Yeah, they got drinkable glitter.
Really?
Yes.
That dissolves in your body, or do you just piss it out?
No, we almost sponsored a drink that was. Oh, you don't know about that. Anyway, yeah, there's drinkable glitter.
What do you mean I don't know? Why don't you tell me shit?
I don't. There's too much, man. There's too much. All right, Mike. 2 parts prosecco, 1 part sake, 1 part sweetened cranberry juice. Okay.
That sounds good.
We got to make this with that commendatore one that we did.
We have a couple, like you said. There's a couple
We
backed up
gotta,
here.
okay, we got to do it. But we had to do the French beer this time. Speaking of which, why don't you grab the next one?
All right, this lesson that I have to teach is.
You're gonna crush it, dude. We got a couch you can sleep on, man. It pulls out into a bed.
I can't sleep on it during the fucking lesson, dude.
Well, afterwards, just an hour. You can do it for an hour. Okay, so this one next to you is thank you. Okay, hi. I wanted to weigh in on the thank you discussion. Wait, how do you say it? Thank you. Thank you. Is it thank you? Okay, thank you. I wanted to weigh in on the thank you discussion from the most recent podcast. The way Jared says thank you is definitely not regional because I'm also from Seattle, and he's the only person I've ever heard pronounce it that way. I think it's possible Jared lived in Germany for too long, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fuck it. Yeah, I get it.
Why are you even reading these? Why are you even reading that one?
Because
You're just embarrassing yourself.
I do people. I don't give a shit, dude. I wear my flaws on my sleeves. If that's a fucking.
Well, you're running out of room.
Okay. All right. Moving on.
SDAO
this?
University. Come in and learn some shit.
How do you do this?
Okay.
How do you do this shit? How do you write that stuff? I don't get it.
You gotta be
Where
fucked
does
up
it
in the
come
head.
from? Composing like writing a book is like the most magical thing in the entire world. How does that fucking happen?
You gotta be weird. But by the way, if you don't know, there's a new nature documentary that David Attenborough did. It's like the next planet Earth, but it's called something different. It's fucking bee's knees, dude.
Oh yeah, it's on Netflix.
Yeah. It's a Netflix like original thing. So before we get into the thing, okay, this is the next beer here, Pietra, I guess. That's all I gotta say. That's what it's called.
Pietra Signore.
That was some nerd shit. That's some niche humor. You gotta be an opera singer, and you had to have sung the 24 Italian art songs to get what the fuck.
I would guarantee almost everybody who's listening to that knows that one. We're trying to branch.
Pietra Signore.
We're trying to branch out and like reach people outside of the opera world, and we just can't.
We just keep boxing ourselves
Just
in.
keep boxing ourselves in.
Keep
with
digging the hole
terrible
deeper.
jokes.
All right, look, we're talking about Notre Dame.
Wait. Here.
Oh, okay.
Here
Cheers.
you go. Cheers to you.
Let's try this
Pietro
first.
Signore. That's different.
Is it? Kind of tastes the exact same.
No way.
Now let me get back in there for a second. Dip.
Now take that one. Now try the other
Okay,
one.
let me go back and forth here. Yeah, okay. Okay.
see?
I see what you're talking about.
My palate is refined.
So, peeps, we are talking about Notre Dame, polyphony, which some people call the Notre Dame School. It's the same fucking thing, School of Polyphony, whatever. It's a group of composers working around or near the Notre Dame from about 1160 to 1250-ish.
Yeah, and look,
And there's really only two names that survived from that time.
and polyphony, at this time, it was about this time that it started really getting going.
Yeah.
They're pretty sure it existed, more than one voice singing at the same time, different parts. It existed beforehand, but of course really wasn't notated
Well,
beforehand.
that's the big part of it, because they did have, like, you would sing the chant, basically,
Yeah.
and then someone would kind of jam on top of it, But the biggest thing that happened during this time was being able to notate rhythm, time through space.
Well, they
'Cause
didn't-
improvising one melody over the other.
I got to correct you here.
What?
They didn't really notate the rhythm.
No, but they had the origins of it.
Yeah.
These rhythmic modes that they had
Right.
was the start of trying to basically dictate time visibly. You know what I mean?
So there's a lot there's a lot to fucking cover here, right? So it existed outside of the so polyphony. They're pretty sure, and again, there's a lot of gray area in a lot of this study because a lot of it's just lost. The moment you sing something and you're done singing it and you didn't notate it or record it in any way, it's gone forever
Yeah.
in the vibrations of the universe.
And there's
That's
a lot
how
of
it
reasons
exists.
for that. I mean, back then also paper wasn't fucking easy to get. I mean,
Right.
they were making. I remember during my masters at the UW, they took us down to some place that had these old scores from like this time, and they were like, "Do you know what that is?" And I was like, "I don't know, a coffee stain." They're like, "No." They made paper from underwear because paper was so fucking rare. I swear to God, they were showing us like shit stained paper because you would like boil a bunch of old clothes and shit. Like paper was rare as shit. So
And they still couldn't get the shit stain out.
no, man, you just leave it in there, But
Did you smell it?
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I licked it. Paper was rare, but the tradition was more of like things were passed down by ear and stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of this Perotin Laotin stuff, these two composers that you had from this time, it came from one account of one person. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's not a lot of this. It's a very gray area, like Mike
That
said.
guy's-
There's debate about all this shit.
That guy's name was Anonymous 4.
Right. He was probably some English student, like in the area.
No, that's exactly it. He was a student from England who was there
Yeah.
at the time, and he wrote decades after that time. So there's some question about the legitimacy. Of
Because you
what
really
he's
have to
writing,
imagine,
but-
like, I'm 32, so if I wrote about shit I saw 15 years ago,
Yeah.
I mean, that's fucking wild.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then people read about it 1,000 years later.
So we got first. We're going to basically cover just two people today. There were other people in the Notre Dame school,
But they're not really named.
but they're not. Well, there are some names involved, but it doesn't matter. There are only two that you really. And if you're learning from the Grout Poliska book, or basically any music history book, it's going after these two. And the first of which is Leonin, right? The great master. And what you got to know about this guy is he came up with the Magnus Liber Organi, right?
Yeah.
The big fucking book of organum. And it was an important thing at the time, something that was then disseminated throughout Europe. There was polyphonic composition happening, but it wasn't anywhere close to what was happening in northern France.
Right.
And it wasn't. And the center of that, the dead center of that, was Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm,
Now, Notre Dame wasn't actually finished at this point. When we're talking about, exactly. It wasn't, the whole cathedral wasn't finished at the time Léonine was writing in the 1100s.
Mm-hmm.
But they were still composing there, and of course, it was in use. I mean, what they would do basically is build something and then hold mass in that space, and then build around them consistently for the next 3,000 years. And you had Léonine writing, and basically what this polyphonic texture started from was an extension of the Gregorian chant that they had. Oftentimes, it would be that the only time they were singing, so they wouldn't sing polyphonic texture throughout the entire chant. So you would take a chant, and they preserved the melody of the chant. And then they would embellish certain parts, or better said, certain words, and the notes that those words encompassed. Almost always employed was the incipit. So the incipit is, I don't know if any of you guys have ever sung chant out there, but when you sing chant, it starts with a soloist starting like the first couple of words.
Sure.
Or like the first word or the first couple of words. And that is where they would start doing they would start embellishing.
I see, okay.
And with Léonine, what would happen is there would be a tenor. That's what they called the main melody of the chant.
Which, by the way, comes from the Latin word tenere, which means to hold. Right. So it would hold the chant, and then you have the clausula, whatever, above it that was then doing this melismatic shit. Yeah.
Right. And with Léonine, it's questionable whether the modes, which we'll get to in a second, it's questionable whether they were applied to his chant or not. So you have the neumes, right? The neumes is the way chant was notated.
If you've ever been, I gotta jump in because not everyone is a music major that's listening. If you ever been to like a museum, you have this old way of looking at music. This is neumes. It's kind of what came before our written notation.
It kind of looks like normal music, but it's not.
Yeah. You can tell it's different.
And these neumes would be, or neumes, if you want to sound a little bit more pretentious.
Neumes.
And I don't know how you can sound more pretentious than talking about chant and talking about Notre Dame polyphony.
It's such a niche, esoteric part of music.
Right.
You know?
I mean, seriously, it's
it was 1,000 fucking years ago.
It was 1,000 years ago. It's
like literally
amazing. It's amazing. Which it's crazy that they're building a cathedral and doing fucking polyphony. 1,000 years ago. My picture of what human life was 1,000 years ago were just people walking around gathering big cartfuls of shit for no apparent reason. I doubted they even knew the reason with those leather caps that cover your ears. You know the ones that come down?
Yeah, with the plebeians and all that shit.
Right, exactly. That's what I imagine everybody is doing.
No, they were at church doing this shit.
Yeah, I mean, so there's that. Anyway, so these neumes would then be grouped together in what they would call ligatures, right? And these ligatures would then be assigned these modes. Now, I'm going to give you guys. I have the modes in front of me. I'm going to demonstrate them for you, just so you know, so you get an idea.
Get some.
They were sort of codified in the fact that, or they were codified into 6 different modes, and they were most often employed, right? There are some that were more employed than others, and like the first 3. Wait, let me see.
Are you talking about like iambic and all this shit?
No. It's so they were measured by, or they were named in Roman numerals, right?
Okay.
So the first one is just a very simple rhythm. Da 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 da. So the measure would be
long, short, long, short.
Long, short, long, short, long.
Yeah.
The second mode is short, long. Da 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 da.
Yeah, isn't that iambic? Yeah.
And then you have the next one, number 3, which will be. I'm about to play a
recording.
A recording after we get to Paratine that you'll hear employed. Da 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 da.
You're like
right?
long, short, short. Like dactyl, I think it's
so
called,
it's the relation is like a dotted quarter note,
okay.
and then an eighth note, and then a quarter note. Da 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 da.
Oh, okay.
Da da da.
Yeah. Okay.
Oftentimes, by the way, the feeling, and it can't really be defined in the way that we define, because the way that we define time and music nowadays is very precise, right?
Yeah, sure.
It wasn't as precise, but the closest you could get is to something like a 6/8 or a 9/8 feel, right? Which is why all of these are.
Yeah, they didn't have all the they didn't go down to 16th note, 32nd note, 64th note, dotted triplet, so it wasn't so precise.
And as a matter of fact, most of so you can. Almost when we're talking about this organum, right? Not my organum, not my fucking organum. When we're talking about this, you can almost always define exactly which mode they're using, and then they'll embellish. They would embellish rhythms on top of that.
Yeah, sure.
But it still kept the bass.
The rhythmic modes he's talking about.
The next one is the reversal of da 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 da. So it's da da da. Oh wait, da 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 da. So da da da. Wait.
Yeah.
Da 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 da
Da da da da da.
No.
Right? You're doing quarter,
listen.
eighth.
No, it's eighth, quarter, and then dotted. Da 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 da.
I see. Okay.
And then the fifth mode is cutting it in two. So if you have 1, 2, 3, it's da 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 da.
It's like a drag triplet. Okay.
Da. Yeah, exactly.
It's like eighths over a triplet.
Right.
Okay.
And then the sixth mode is da 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 da.
Which is just straight up 3.
Which is just straight up 3 beats per measure.
Okay.
And so you would have like we were talking about with Leonine, you would have the chant embellished by one or more people holding out one tone of the chant, and then people embellishing melismatically on top of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes they believe that these rhythmic modes were implied onto the chant. That's again another.
Oh, it's crazy because we
area
look at this stuff retrospectively, but it's like fucking jazz or something. You know what I mean? It's like often people were just doing shit and they had a feel for it. You know what I mean? And then retrospectively, you look at it and you're like, well, they were categorizing it as these the longer and the breve of the metric foot. Like then you get at it, but there was definitely a feel for it that people could probably kind of feel like that's right or not.
Absolutely.
You know, like scat. You know?
Yeah. Important though was preserving these chants.
Yeah.
Right, so the chants these are embellishments of the
original chant,
canon,
the
musical
plain chant
canon that was already existing. His follower, or somebody who also worked at Notre Dame, was Perotin, right?
Yeah.
Now we had the first one you could call organum duplum, right? 2 voices, where you have the tenor and then the duplum on top.
Right.
Perotin started taking this shit. Oh, there was. I'm sorry. There were certain parts of, so you would have the organum duplum where the chant is preserved and it's basically free on top. Sometimes the rhythms would be implied on them, but then later in the chant there would also be these sections of discant where there were definitely rhythms implied on top, which I'm sure there's going to be some fucking musical nerd out there who's writing in, well, blah, blah, blah. And if, by the way, do it because I want to know.
Yeah. Nerd it up.
And then Perotin came along. He had the big fucking book of organum, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, wow, this shit is good, but I'm gonna take this shit up a notch. Started adding organum triplum and organum quadruplum.
It's 4 fucking voices, you know?
That's 4 fucking voices.
Now
dude.
you got a fucking choir up there.
You got a choir up there.
Yeah.
You got a big freaking choir up there.
Yeah. And by the way, people at the time, they fucking hated this shit, a lot of people, because they were used to this mono like music, right? Like not polyphony, but this monophonic music, right? Where it's like, if you imagine that's all you've ever heard in your life is one voice, maybe over like some sort of lute or something, but like one voice, and then all of a sudden 2 people are singing, often with different texts, right?
Yeah.
They didn't have it fucking figured out all the way. This wasn't Eric Whitacre shit, you know? This was like,
well,
I mean, it was good, but people at the time, they couldn't handle it. And like you had that with Wagner, you had that now, you know, like
you're right about that. But this particular example, Perotin didn't have the different texts on top of one another.
Right. In this particular, I just want to point out that I like to point out whenever possible that whenever this innovation happened, innovation is often not met with celebration.
Yeah, because people are inherently people
don't like change.
People who are actually liberal, even they inherently still don't really like change that much.
Sure.
They don't like people. There is
There's a
something
comfort
about
in
doing what
knowing.
you know.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
But you gotta let go of that, people, and you gotta fucking move on. You gotta move on. And what I think about when I listen to this music, I think to myself, this sounds like nothing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It sounds so inventive, and the reason is they were pulling it straight out of their dirty medieval assholes. I mean, like,
Well, a lot of this stuff, like a lot
dirtiest-
of Bach shit, like a lot of Chopin, like a lot of this stuff was like kind of improvised, and like students and shit like notated this stuff later, you know?
Yeah, right.
Could you imagine that? Like, I'm like, Mike, I'm going to sing something, write it down.
Or just try to remember it.
Yeah, just try to remember this. Here goes.
As best you can. Perfect. Written.
And you're going to make mistakes, and then 1,000 years, people are going to read it and be like, this is what Jared Heiss did.
Right.
No, Mike made some mistakes, all right? What do you got?
Wow. Okay. So let's move on to this example. We're gonna
right.
get hit with a copyright claim, and then I'm gonna have to do some paperwork and
Yeah, I
figure
tell
that
Mike, if
shit out.
Mike brings music on here, he's got to do the
I want
paperwork.
to listen to. Don't you guys want to listen to shit?
Yes. Yeah, of course you do, but it's a lot of fucking paperwork for us every time we do this. All right, play it up.
I take care of it, right?
Yeah, well.
So this is a recording of Peritine by the Hilliard Ensemble. Do you know the Hilliard Ensemble?
Yeah, of course.
They're fucking incredible. And this music, like I said, drives me absolutely crazy with excitement.
Yeah.
You know, in researching this, so today, I got to tell one little story first. How are we doing on time?
We're at an hour.
Okay, well, we're fine then. At rehearsal today, I was in there with my Grout Poliska from fucking
You got
20
no shame.
years ago
You
or,
got no
something, or
shame,
10
Mike.
years ago, right?
Sitting in there with you.
And I'm reading it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing, right?
Oh, the Cantus Firmus got my fucking organ all firm.
My organum firmus. Woo!
Yeah, you got to pull cables out with that.
Organum firmus. That's great. That's a great name for a boner.
Or my Organus Firmus.
That's it. I'm done.
Yeah?
Organus firmus.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm in there with my Organus firmus reading.
Yeah.
And then in walks my this Helden tenor that's singing with us. He's singing Bacchus and Ariadne, right?
Yeah, right.
Great guy, but maybe a bigger nerd than I am, right?
Is that possible?
Oh my God, he came in. He's like, Mike, am I bothered? I'm like, well, I'm reading about this. He's like, yeah, but I wanted to tell you about this Molière, this thing that I found in the Molière play that I'm doing. He was a French literature major.
Well, this tenor,
Right? And he's like, bringing in the I'm like, bring on the Molière!
God,
Woo!
I would have walked out.
Nerdy as shit. And what I thought to myself was, so the reason I'm able to do this today is my wife took the kids and went back to the grandma and grandpa, her parents, for Easter. But I can't because I've got some fucking performances and rehearsals and shit, right? As is
the life.
is the life of a singer. And I thought to myself, I do stuff when Dodo's away that makes me so unattractive to women that, but it's in my heart. It's in my heart. So I was shopping for something and I was listening to this Peritine.
Yeah.
And I was walking in absolute rhythm and then like tapping my feet in like complicated, like the ta 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 ta. And I noticed I was like dancing a little bit to fucking medieval music. And I thought to myself, this is so good and makes my penis completely lonely.
Yeah.
Because no one will ever want to touch it again when they see me.
It just starts to disintegrate.
When they see me dancing to Peritine, it's just a wasteland.
I mean, that's the pinnacle of nerdiness right there.
I know, but
tap dancing in a supermarket to fucking medieval music.
If I were alone, I'm like a fucking 12th century Fred Astaire.
Yeah.
Just tap dancing to organ.
Oh man.
But if I were alone,
Yeah.
if I didn't have to maintain at least a base level of sexiness for another person,
Yeah, you'd be doing.
this would be my life, and
Yeah.
I would remain alone forever and ever. Hallelujah, amen. Right?
With much more plants and cats, but yeah.
Man, I don't know. I don't even know if the cats can take this kind of nerdiness, right?
They'd be walking out of the room.
Plants bear it.
Yeah.
They grin
They
and
have
bear
to.
it.
Yeah.
They have to, but they're like, get me out of here! Why can't I evolve legs?
Ow. All right, come on, let's do it.
Was that Mr. Mackey? Ow!
Ow.
Or, wait,
No, that was from South Park.
yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
so we got the Hilliard Ensemble making my Organist Firmus here with Sererum Principes, right?
Yeah.
So what
Make sure you comment on this so that we can fair use it.
Yeah,
right?
of course, we're going to. So what you're going to hear is you're going to hear two different uses of the modes, right? And these modes were apparently this is very common in his music that he would go back and forth between the third and the fifth mode.
Damn.
Right?
I bet they got people rock fucking hard.
Oh my God! People would be like, "Oh, that's a fifth mode."
They'd go for drinks later back. The way he used the
pants.
third mode and the fifth mode, then back to the third mode.
New pants.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the da 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 da.
That one's good. That
That's
one's
the
good. I like
third
that.
mode?
That's my favorite one. I like that.
And
one.
then we've got
Ta ta ta.
we've got ta ta ta. So if it's 1 2 3 1 2 3, we've got ta 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 ta.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Okay. That one's
we go.
jazzy. I like that one.
Are you ready?
Oh yeah. Bring it on. Bring it on.
Oh my God, I love this shit. So the beginning of this, I've always thought is like the medieval equivalent of the Lion King going.
Yeah, sure. I mean, they got that from somewhere. You know,
Yeah,
didn't
they
come
got it
from
from
nowhere.
somewhere. They
Yeah.
probably got it from Paratine. Here we
Yeah.
go. Organ's famous.
Pennsylvania.
Shut the fuck up. So, se of Sederund. And
Sex.
Da, 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 da.
Oh, I hear it.
Mode 3.
Mode 3. I love that mode 3.
Tell me when mode 5 comes in, mister.
Okay, I'll see if I can handle it. Oh, was that mode 5?
Yep.
I had a touch of 5 there.
Da, da, da. So they're still on se
Yeah.
of the first syllable of the chant.
Yeah.
And he's still holding that out.
How boring would it be to be one of the dudes on the bottom?
I don't know. I think it's chant.
Yeah.
Well, I think
They switch off.
they might have actually switched to de. No, not yet. Not yet. Or the new mode might have been de, and we might
Yeah.
have missed it already.
I mean, this is what you do when there's no TV, you know? Like, let's say a word for 5 minutes, you know? Fuck it.
Let's see if we can.
Yeah, you got somewhere to be? The sun's still up.
I've got so much shit to collect on this card.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll hear the sederund.
Yeah.
The ooh hits you like a ton of bricks.
Oh, my God.
Like a fucking ton of bricks.
Man, if you were sitting there in the Middle Ages, this should pump you the fuck up. Mike's getting pumped right now.
The thing is, I just think de. I think that's de.
But, yeah.
So I think to myself, if I were in a church
Yeah.
like Notre Dame
Yeah.
and I were listening to
yeah.
this music, I might be a little bit more religious than I am now.
Well, that's all you have to think about is this stuff was meant to be performed in huge spaces. And that's where, like, a lot of the stuff comes from. And there were no microphones, there were no subtitles. So it was actually practical to stretch a word out. You know what I mean? Just as far as, like, understanding it goes.
We'll get to the ooh soon. As soon as we get to the ooh, we can stop.
That's
for a second.
suspense, you know? You're sitting there the whole church service. You're like, when they
when's
say
the ooh coming?
That ooh, I can't wait till that ooh drops. Yeah, you think the beat dropping in a techno song is fucking new.
This is
The ooh drop. When that ooh drops. And they didn't have conductors either, you know, like
No.
not the way we do now.
no. They actually had like semicircle stands,
Yeah.
so they would be singing towards one another, which is the
Well,
best way to
often-
sing as a choir.
Well, and often you couldn't have a book for everybody, so there was one giant book that everyone looked at. Ooh. That was good. That was good.
Ah, beautiful.
Oh, man.
Beautiful,
Different
beautiful.
formant cluster got my dick.
Now, it got your Cantus Firmus.
What?
Wait. So I want to play the next word that they start with.
Okay. We're like 3 minutes in.
It's just somehow magical. And I mean, if what I was... So they get done with the first word, and then they all sing chant in unison. And then they get to the next important word that they want to emphasize, and then this discant comes in, is what it's called. Now, if I were sitting in a church and I were listening to this while praying,
Yeah.
I would think more... Wait. Oh my God.
Hey, man.
Look,
Oh, Mike's goose bumping. Hey, I got a couple too.
you got some?
Yeah, I got a couple goose pimples.
I mean,
right.
it's new. It's so old, it's new.
Yeah. And man, I tell you, like back then, it's like they didn't have all the like the TV and shit. So it's like when you built a building like Notre Dame, which now is impressive, in a world where we have airplanes and skyscrapers, Notre Dame is impressive. But you have to imagine a world where that building absolutely dominates any other thing that you've ever seen in your life.
Right.
And then you walk into that with these rose windows, and there was no HD TV, colors you had never fucking seen before.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you hear fucking sounds like that you've never heard before. I mean, come on. That would be an experience, because we can't hear that, unfortunately, with the ears they had back then.
We can't even hear the voice. It's such a shame.
We've heard it all. We've heard Bach, we've heard Puccini, we've heard Verdi, Wagner, we've heard Eric Whitacre, we've heard everything up till now with that stuff, and you can't hear it, but that must have been absolutely mind-blowing.
I mean, I
To never have heard polyphony before.
Right.
Two voices at the same time, two separate melodies, to never even heard that, and then to hear that in a place like Notre Dame, I mean, what the hell, man?
It goes to show you how difficult it is to do something new. That humans had existed for a long fucking time, and not come up with a way to notate that shit, and probably not come up with singing that way yet.
No.
So you would think, well, yeah, of course you have an orchestra playing together. Of course you have all these different parts.
Yeah.
What are you fucking talking about? The vast majority of time, that shit didn't exist.
Well, I mean, think about how long it took to fucking take vowel sounds and understand them as words. Because these are just sounds we're making, and your brain interprets them as words. And then to dictate them, which is what words are in a book, right? To write vowel sounds and then be able to communicate information through like writing on a page, that's already fucking crazy. But then to start to dictate pitch, of course that took a long time. And then to dictate pitch through time, I mean, that's a fucking mind fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then with dynamics and stuff, you start to try to communicate color and timbre and intent. It's crazy.
Can I do one thing? I would be remiss to do this. I want to make sure that I explained what was happening there clearly enough, right? Because if there are people who are listening, when I say like the incipit, the first part of the chant, they might not know what I'm talking about,
They're
right?
Probably not, Michael.
Right? So, okay, so there's a
That's good beer.
there is a chant that's on Christmas Day,
Yeah.
right? Where the incipit for it is Puenatus es nobis, right? That melody
Yeah.
is what we just heard. The person,
Slow the fuck down.
the person who is going, it's the wrong tone, I know, or the wrong key, I know.
Yeah, who cares?
That's what it is, right? Anyway, so if I were singing, that whole thing that they were singing on top of, there would be one person going, and then you would be doing fucking mode 3 on top, right?
Yeah. And then you'd be,
And then I would go poo, and then the next note would go, then right?
Yeah,
and
slowing
they
it the
would
fuck down.
Slow it the fuck down. So
Yeah.
so this chant was preserved. I want to make sure that the people who don't understand what I'm talking about are really getting what's going on, that this chant was somehow considered as being holy enough that it's worth being preserved, even if you're composing new.
They weren't composing new songs completely. They were taking a chant that existed, and then they were doing stuff over it. So it was kind of a mix between composing and arranging. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it was cool stuff, and it's a part of our
It
history.
happened in that beautiful building that burned down.
And so the Notre Dame, the building is of course a part of history, but this music that comes from, this is the origins of what we do now.
Right.
And like I said, it's unfortunate we can't hear music now. We can't hear that now as it sounded back then, because we're so overwhelmed. We're so desensitized, Because, I mean, God, we have like electric guitars and shit now. You know what I mean?
Which, by the way, that's another reason why you need to fucking preserve this shit. Like, people I also heard people saying it's just a building. Yeah, it is just a building. You're right. Nobody died. I understand. It is tragic to lose a human life. You're right.
Yeah.
But it is I feel tragedy that I can't hear those sounds, or I can't see what it was like in ancient Rome. I can't see those things, but you can see this building that was started to be built in 1000 or 1100, right?
Yeah, sure.
You can see that, and it just burnt down. So don't tell me it's not sad. I'm sad. I was sad that shit happened.
Yeah.
So fuck you if you don't think it's sad. That's really what I want to say.
Ah, man. Well, everybody, gather round, take a sit. Hope you enjoyed yourselves today. You got anything else you want to say to the people, Mike? While you have their attention?
No, I loved this podcast. I thought this was a good one. We heard more theme music in this one than we ever did. There was more music in this one ever, including the theme music and the organist Firmus.
We'll see if we can let YouTube fucking let us use it. Okay, so we got some great shit coming up for you. May is full of some fantastic fucking guests.
Ooh.
Mike and I got the studio up and running. I was gone for 3 weeks. I'm back now, so you're gonna see some stuff. Merch is gonna come out.
We keep promising, dude. This has to be like the priority from here on out.
Yeah,
we actually have the merch sitting in this other room.
Yeah, I know, but we gotta we gotta do it. All right, everybody. Take care of yourself. Watch the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Listen to some Perrotine.
And if you have the time, read the book. But
read the book if you got a good 5 years. See ya. Take care of yourselves.
Later.